What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the office. Today's gonna be a short video in continuation of the build your own home project. And it kind of piggybacks off of the last video, which was lot selection and some of the details that go along with that. Somebody asked a really good question in that video, and that was, what if you're not looking at buying a lot in a developed subdivision? What if you're looking at buying land to build your own home on? What changes there and what things do you need to look out for? And that's a really good question, because buying undeveloped land is an entirely different thing than buying a developed lot in a subdivision. Most of the things that we discussed in that video still apply to buying undeveloped land, except for the covenants and restrictions, right? Because there are going to be none. It's your own plot of land. You're in charge of it. Outside of the county having minimum building requirements and number of buildings per acre, you're kind of going to be almost free to do what you want. Of course, that's a caveat to that. I'm certain there's places in the country that will still have ridiculous regulations on what you can build on your own big parcel of land. We're not going to get into that here. This video is going to touch more on the specifics of the additional things you will need to look at and research while you're looking for that piece of land that you want to build on. And I'll be using a couple of online resources to help you with this. I will put those links to those in the description of the video so you have them. We'll start with a pretty important one, and that is going to be a perk test for your soil. And that's a test that is going to check and make sure that the soil on the property can handle a septic system. Now, you're going to want this to be somewhat close to where you want your building site for the home to be. Say you're buying 100 acres, right? You don't want to go out trying to perk test all over the 100 acres to see if you can get septic systems all over. You have to pay for this stuff. Figure out where you would kind of want to put the house, rough idea, and then get a perk test nearby that to make sure that you can get a septic system close by the house. While we're on the topic of soil, you're going to want to do a structural soil test. So they're going to come through and they're going to bore a hole down to the depth and slightly below where you're going to have the footings of your house. And they're going to test the strength of that soil to make sure that it can support a structure. Now, you kind of want soil that'll support the structure you're going to build without having to do additional work to the soil. You want to be able to dig your hole, make it clean, form your footings, pour them, and go. If you get into bad soil that can't bear the weight of a house, it becomes very expensive to engineer and implement a system that then can carry the weight of the house, right? Those are going to be helical piers, or you're going to have to continue digging deeper until you find good soil. So pick maybe 3 key locations that you would want to have the house on, bore all 3 of them, and get your test back. And again, these are not cheap tests. In our area, I think they're about $4,000 or $5,000 to run these compressive soil tests, but it's money well spent if this is going to be your dream home and you really want your house to be on this area, this part of the land. You don't want to buy the land and then do these tests and find out you can't build where you want to build. Or maybe you're in a really bad block of land that was low-lying and it's got a ton of organic material that's compiled over years, and you've got 15 foot of mush. You can't build on it. So while this is expensive stuff to do, it can save you a lot of headache and a lot of money if it stops you from buying a piece of unbuildable land. Number 3 is going to be to check with the county for any easements that might have been granted on this property past. Think railroads, utility companies like your electric and your gas. Right, you could have a pipeline coming underneath a large portion of the property, and they gave them a 200-foot easement that you won't be able to build on, and it's theirs to access. And that's not to say don't buy property that has easements cut through it. Just make sure the easement doesn't cut through where you want your home to be, and make sure you're buying the land at a price that makes sense, given that there is this large easement on it. Another thing is going to be check for floodplains, right? Because this can impact your homeowner's insurance pretty significantly. And this is going to be one of the online utilities that we're going to use. And you can come right on FEMA's site here. It's a FEMA flood plan service. I'll put this link. So I just popped up this map here, which is nearby my house. So I knew to look here. So this is zone AE. There's a legend down here that tells you what each of these things mean. Now you can build in zone AE, but there's going to be special restrictions and engineering requirements that go to it to make sure that the home is being built to an elevation above the minimum flood. Your insurance costs are going to be significantly higher. Your development costs are going to be higher. Just everything becomes more expensive. This over here, this zone A, you're not going to have nearly the restrictions from an engineering and development standpoint. So you're not going to have those costs, but your insurance costs are going to be a little bit higher. And then you've got this little zone X area, shaded zone X. Most times you don't need additional homeowners insurance for that to satisfy your lender, and there won't be additional cost. Typically, once you're out in these completely unshaded areas, you don't have to worry about flood insurance. And these don't guarantee that you're never going to see a flood. It just says anywhere out here is a much lower probability. I forget the number of years. You know, like this might be a 1 in 100 year flood. This might be 1 in 500. I don't remember the details on that. Just know that just because you're outside of this doesn't guarantee you're never going to have a flood. I want to say something like 25 or 30% of all flood claims for home damage happen outside of designated flood zones. Just something to keep in mind. And then the next thing that kind of comes along with that is going to be wetlands. So there are going to be designated wetlands. Sometimes it's low-lying areas. Sometimes people have designated an area to be wetlands to replace a wetland that they're going to dig up, fill, and no longer make a wetland. You can't build on wetlands. Not a good time. I've had to work on getting a wetland easement removed for something that was delineated as wetlands that really wasn't. You know, I spent, I don't know, $10,000 on engineers and lawyers just to get it removed. So be mindful of that. And there is a wetlands. Again, I'll put a link for this one. So you can kind of come through here and see any of these areas shaded blue, dark green, light green. And then here's that same property we were just looking at that has the floodplain coming through it. This whole area here, that's a wetland. Can't build on it, right? It's just space. It'll be on your land. It's there. You can maintain and clean it, but you can't modify it. You can't fill it in. If you fill it in and the county finds out, you are in a whole world of hurt. They will fine you significantly, and they will make you return it to its prior condition, which can be very expensive. So be mindful of wetland. And then the last one, which is pretty important, and I've seen happen to somebody, check with the town or the county that you're building in, or that you want to build in with this land, and make sure you can obtain a driveway permit. Somebody I know has purchased a piece of land that was on a busy road, and they didn't know this, but the town had decided that they were going to no longer issue driveway permits on that road. So no more houses to be built on that road. So he now owned a piece of land that he couldn't put a driveway on, so he couldn't build a house on. Hard to sell that too. Make sure that you can get a driveway into your property. It's kind of important. And those are just some of the quick things that are in conjunction with the first video of building on a lot in a subdivision. Keep this stuff in mind. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below, and I'll give you guys links to all this stuff, and we'll see you on the next one.